Hi, and welcome to this vintage video on this YouTube channel. Today we're going to be playing a league with Nadu Tinker, a deck that I reached second place with at the recent London Vintage Tournament, losing the finals to Esper Lurrus. I suppose the notable card in this deck that is very odd is Aphetto Alchemist, which has been seeing a certain amount of play recently in various shells, often with Psychic Frog. I've sort of streamlined the mana base so it's no longer playing black, which I'm uncertain if that's correct. I suspect that you may still want to splash for Vampiric and Demonic Tutor. Yes, the mana is more robust and lets you play some utility lands like Cavern of Souls and Besage You. I suppose I haven't described what they're trying to do, which is draw a lot of cards and assemble Time Vault, Mana Vault key. So these cards, which let you take all the turns in the game, and you win with the creatures you have in play. Some constructs from As Saga or Elks from Oko. You have the luxury of having 5 functional keys with Aphetto Alchemist, which work again with your 1 rings to draw lots of cards. And your Aphetto Alchemist also combos with Nadu, so you can target Aphetto Alchemist twice during your turn with its own ability. It untaps itself, and then you can target it again twice during your opponent's turn, and then finally Nadu or Ring as the 5th activation for the turn cycle for Aphetto Alchemist, which generates a lot of card advantage, and notably, as it came up during the London event, this gets around Hull Breacher and Narset and Orcish Bowmasters, the combo with Aphetto Alchemist and Nadu. And so in many cases, it can be better than traditional card drawing methods. The other combo with Aphetto Alchemist is Legolas's Quick Reflexes, which so it's a protection spell, I suppose, for your creatures, so Nadu and the Aphetto Alchemist. So if your opponent tries to Swords to Plowshares or Fatal Push your creature, you can protect it from that spell uncounterably by normal counter magic. Not Chalice of the Void on 1 or Counterbalance on 1, but those don't come up very often in Vintage. And essentially you can continue tapping and untapping your Aphetto Alchemist with its own ability to kill all of your opponent's creatures that don't have ward or hexproof or something like that, which is quite strong. You can always kill their Psychic Frog, you can kill all their Orcish Bowmasters and their Lavinias and all of that. You can kill your bizarre opponent's entire board of Hollow Ones, etc. Or your Mono White Initiatives board, opponent's board. And conveniently, Aphetto Alchemist ends this chain untapped, so you can attack and steal the initiative. So that has happened a few times. And then we're playing 1 copy of Shuko, which combos with Nadu, and we're playing 1 copy of Lava Spur Boots, which gives your Aphetto Alchemist haste and also triggers Nadu if you don't have an Alchemist. This is a card that this is the 60th card in the main deck. Otherwise, everything else is pretty reasonable. We have 2 answers to 8 pieces in Oko and Besage You that slot quite cleanly into the deck and don't require you to dedicate real slots. And there's a Veil of Summer as another hedge against Orcish Bowmasters, because whilst you can ignore it with 1 draw engine, this deck draws a lot of cards otherwise and loses a lot of life to its own permanents. In the sideboard, we have 6 hate pieces for Dredge, so 4 Ley Lines, 1 Pithing Needle, and 1 Grafdigger's Cage. We have 5 cards which are really there for duel, so 2 Consigns, 2 Steel Sabotage, and 1 Force of Negation. The Consigns and the Force come in against Doomsday. Doomsday, notably, a pretty bad matchup, I think. Just not really positioned in a way that you want to beat that deck. And then you have a Portal to Phyrexia for things like Mono White. I haven't worked out if I'd wanted this as his bug, but that doesn't see an awful lot of play anyway. And then 3 Legolas's Quick Reflexes, which again I tend to bring in against anything where they have creatures or the Lurrus decks that are trying to interact with your creatures when they hit play. Or both, in that case. I think that's everything discussed, so I'll see you in round one. Okay, hi, and welcome to round one. We are playing against Worthy89, and we did win the die roll, so let's go first. Well, this hand does something. This is going to be a keep. Let's just make sure that aligns. So yeah, we're on the play, and we have a Black Lotus and a One Ring, so it's going to be difficult for me to want to mulligan this. I suppose we have a choice in, do we want to play out any of our other artifacts before playing out our ring, notably Mana Vault. It does open us up to getting mental misstepped, but I think I'm going to lead on Lotus and see what happens. Nothing happened. I'm inclined not to lead on Vault, just because we're going to have to tap Vault to cast Ring anyway, which is not brilliant for us down the line, right? We want to be able to use the mana from Mana Vault to do something more productive than play out our artifacts that cost 1. So let's see. And the ring resolves. So, ideal, perhaps, as a start for the event. And we've even drawn our own mental misstep. So, let's see where this goes. Mox Jet, Scalding Tarn. They have a Mana Vault, which, yeah, I will misstep Mana Vault. Wow, okay. A lot of mana over there. Notably didn't reveal Lurrus, so would not be surprised if Tinker or, okay, Scroll. Okay, good bait there from the Vault then. I'm going to draw 3. Still pretty happy with misstepping Mana Vault, given that it's unlikely my opponent has the mana to cast Scroll into Ancestral, and it's unlikely that they specifically have Ancestral as well. So having, yeah, Lotus Scroll is unlikely enough that I'm happy to misstep a Mana Vault though. And the things that could come out of a Mana Vault, not knowing that they had this, is, you know, we want to slow them down, given that over time our ring hopefully will take over the game. And they're letting us put our Saga trigger on the stack after taking 1 off of our 1 ring. So let's see where this takes us. Wonder what our opponent is playing. Mana Vault indicates perhaps they're playing a Paradoxical Outcome Shell. That was good. And PO with a Mox Vault Lotus Ancestral hand is quite intimidating. I am inclined just to pass and leave up Brainstorm with a Shuffle if we need Disruption, or make a Construct. Given that this mana isn't doing an awful lot for us right now. Could be something I'm missing there, but yeah. Yeah, Ponder's fine. Ponder off Underground Sea. Still inclined to think this is PO, especially with Scalding. Yeah, it could be Doomsday, but they have a Mana Vault, so yeah. Everything else, it wouldn't make. If they hadn't played Mana Vault, I probably would think they're playing Doomsday. Maybe no, not Scald as well. I'm just talking rubbish. Yeah, so trying to come up with answers to something that is likely just some sort of PO Tinker shell. Okay. Tundra. Bear Cub. Demonic? Time Vault. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Well, they haven't done anything yet that means that the game's over, and we're going to get some constructs. Perhaps more than one construct. We'll see what we draw per turn and what we draw off our ring. So I'm going to draw more cards before I make more decisions. So let's see. Okay. A lot going on here then. Right. So if I float a mana, I will have 3+1+2 for my land drop and my mana vault. I do have the Nadu Shuko combo in hand. I would assume they have some disruption given that they haven't tried to do anything to win the game. But I think I don't think the construct is worth the 3 mana here, given that we have all this stuff to be doing, which is potentially or likely is better than construct. And now I have to think about what I want to get. So options are mana, which is useful. So that obviously jumps us past the 3, 4, 5, 6 mana up to 9 mana if we want to get. Oh, we use those, but we can get, I guess, up to 8 mana with a Crypt or a Soul Ring, and then 7 if we want colored mana, which seems like a possibility. I think ideally I want to resolve Nadu Shuko Time Warp, right? And that's 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So we don't need more mana off our saga to do that. We would need double blue and a green mana, which we can do off our 2 lands in the Mox. And so I'm kind of inclined to just get Vexing Bauble and turn off their Force of Will if they have that, which seems like a possibility because we've not played anything out past turn 1 that was Force of Willable, and they've Ancestral and Pondered. So I'm going to grab Vexing Bauble, and I'm going to. So I think I'm supposed to play Mana Vault, and then Shuko. I probably should play around Spell Pierce with the Time Walk as well. So let's do that. And this means that if they Spell Pierce, I can pay and just hit them for 7. And if they don't, then I can resolve Nadu. I'm just going to go to the Tropical Island here and play Nadu. Now there's a fair chance that they have Source of Pleasures. It's not particularly high. I would not expect this sort of deck to play a bunch of Source of Pleasures in the main. But let's see. What happens here? So, equip Shuko. No responses. Okay. Let's do some broken things, shall we? Well, we've done quite a lot of that already. But, alright, now Nadu. Yep. We found our key, so if we find another mana, we can draw some more cards. Which we do, but I can't play it because I have a Vexing Bauble. So I'm going to play out an artifact, probably just the key, to get in for another point of damage. They did have the Spell Pierce. Okay, good job we played around that. With the Time Walk, and I'll attack for 7. Okay, and then we get another turn. I'm not going to untap my Mana Vault, so I'll be taking 4 across my upkeep and draw step here. This deck does tend to do quite a lot of damage to itself with Ring, Vault, and Crypt. It just is the way the deck works. Okay, it's a Tolarian Academy. Sure. Let's see what we can find. So at the moment we're attacking for 10, so I just need to resolve another artifact, don't I? So maybe I shouldn't be showing them all this extra stuff, but this is fun. In fact, I think I could have just played this, and this would be lethal, right? Because that's 11 damage. Yeah, let's just attack. Didn't need to show them all that, but whatever. It's fun triggering Nadu. Lovely. Okay, let's see. How big is our deck looking today, given Magic Online's sizing user interface issues recently? Okay, that kind of fits quite cleanly. Perfect. Right, so I think they're playing, well, they have a Time Bolt, they're not playing Lurrus, they're playing Esper with Mana Vault, so I would assume they're playing some sort of Tinker PO shell. The sideboard we have isn't particularly set up for that, right? We have a card for mono white, cards for dredge or the graveyard decks. I could bring in, I guess, Consign. I don't feel like that does enough. The only card that may have any merit is Force of Negation. In the main deck, everything does kind of have a purpose. The creature removal, inverted commas, in Legolas Reflexes, protecting my spells from swords to flashes means having one as an inclusion is useful. And it gives me an out to kill things like Lavinia, which they may have, and may be very annoying, or Hull Breacher, that sort of thing. And the Force of Negation often can't cast counter an outcome anyway, because they're sort of incentivized to PO during my turn with their own Force of Negation backup. So I'm somewhat inclined not to do anything. I guess I could see cutting the Mystical Tutor because they're probably a deck full of Flusterstorms. Let's try that then. Yeah, I mean Flusterstorm's still going to be good against negation, I suppose, but spending mana to set up into a Flusterstorm is a bit awkward. What else would I be getting with Mystical other than Tinker, Ancestral, Quick Reflexes, I suppose? Not a lot. So yeah, having another not die to Tinker on turn 1 card sounds fine. Let's go with this. Okay, we have another hand with Black Lotus in it, and we have an Urza Saga and a Mox and a Force. So I am inclined to keep this. I don't know if they're playing Wasteland. I would expect not. They probably have a Strip Mine. So my Saga Force of Will hand is pretty good, especially with the boots already. So I will keep this. And I have Strip Mine, which is my own disruption in case they play. I don't know. I have a fast start with say Tolarian Academy, and I force their payoff, and then I can Strip Mine. It gives you outs to do things like that. I'm tempted to see if they will Spell Pierce my Black Lotus. No. Okay, well, let's see if they want to counter this, or this, or this. No. Lovely. Well, I will play out my Saga then. So now we are insulated from their soft counters. This is a mystical or something? Pickaxe or is it ancestral? No, it's obviously Lorien Revealed. It's the post Lord of the Rings world. Mana Go means Lorien Revealed. Underground Sea. Okay, fine. Notably, still no companion revealed. They didn't forget to click on Lurrus in game 1. I don't think they showed us any bigger things in game 1 as well. Okay, they have Ancestral, and I am inclined to force this, and I am inclined to continue playing around Spell Pierce. I could obviously crack the Lotus as my functional pitch, but yeah, I don't know if I love that. So here, I know they have an Underground Sea, so they have an, oh, that's, well, I was thinking about not strip mining them so that I could use the strip mine to equip the boots. However, this kind of makes it all a bit irrelevant. I think I'm just going to strip mine them to keep them down on mana. I know this doesn't color screw them, and they've kept the Underground Sea in hand, and I seem to play around some sort of mana disruption. But I think just getting... They're also always going to be able to source splashes me here. So if I strip mine them, then equip, I want to be able to equip for haste. So yeah, I'm just going to do this here and see what they do. I'm not going to be able to stop them interacting with my construct. So we'll see. It looks like they might have source supply shares. Yeah. Sure. So at this point, given that they've used the mana in that way, I'm somewhat inclined to save Strip Mine for an Urza Saga or the Black Source perhaps, or yeah, or a Galarian Academy. I'm not going to play it out because then they don't know that I have it. I don't think they saw it in game one, so yeah. Okay, there's the Black Source, and they fetched that. So now that's exposed to my Strip Mine unless they have something like Gush or Stifle, either of which I think are particularly likely to be in their deck. They'd have to show me them for me to play around them. Okay, I drew a land, and that's fine. Not brilliant, obviously, but doesn't particularly change our plan. Here, again, I think I'm just going to get Vexing Bauble. I could get Sensei's Divining Top, but the Mana Vault really does make me think that they are playing PO, and they could be holding a lot of. They could, and then if they are doing that, then they're inclined to have a bunch of mops and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to grab the Vexing Bauble again. And I'm going to strip mine their Underground Sea now. If they have a 3-mana spell, say, they might, then they'll have to play it. They have a Hull Breacher? Or they do. Okay, that's fine. And I'll equip. So I have my 8/7 haste ward, and maybe they'll block, maybe they won't. They might just have Time Twister naturally. They've had quite an odd hand, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did have Time Twister naturally, because they've not played any fast mana. They've not, I guess they've not had any opportunities to really counter anything other than my force on their Ancestral. And so it wouldn't be particularly shocking if they had Time Twister. They have got Static Prison though. Okay, I wonder what they choose here. They're just going to get rid of my construct token. Okay, well, that's fine. That's whatever. So, Hull Breacher is a bit of a mixed bag versus us in that it is disruptive versus my rings, but is not disruptive versus my Nadu as card advantage. And Nadu would be a great draw here, right? I would get 2 triggers off my Lava Spell Boots equipping twice. I would be able to get in for 4 and continue winning this race, and the Hull Breacher wouldn't disrupt the card advantage. Okay. Fun card this. Just 1 mana answer to any non-land permanent for a supposedly temporary amount of time. Temporary period. Right, upkeep. Draw. That's not ideal. I'm just going to play this out and pass. I have a hedge maze I can fetch. And they didn't shuffle using Ponder's so-called ability. So I would assume they have something good here. which is a bit intimidating because we're running out of time at that point. Okay, they have their own vexing ball, but that's whatever. That doesn't do an awful lot. Here, there aren't even any particularly 0 mana or alternative casting spell spells I'd want to draw. Like drawing force is okay, so I can just pay 5 for it. But yeah, what's on top? A ring. Yeah, that's not really what I want, is it? Because there's a Hull Breacher, so we found that one instead. Let's get rid of that, I think. And we're going to draw something good. I think our opponent has something here. Maybe they have another Hull Breacher. They're wondering if they should play it before I can draw force? No. Oh, well, that's good. There's a fair chance that my opponent has Force of Negation. And there's also a fair chance that they have Spell Pierce. I think I'm going to play out this land to play around Spell Pierce. And probably just get negated. But, you know, if they don't, then, yeah. Okay, well, that's not nothing. I suppose we both have Vexing Baubles, so this isn't actually going to do an awful lot. But it will help me make land drops and draw through my deck a little faster. I think that's worth casting. At the very least. They didn't play the card they have in hand, so I'm curious as to what it is. So ideally we're hitting lands off the top with Citadel, which is a bit strange, but that is what we're hoping for. And we know we're not going to have to do anything this turn cycle because they have this Hull Breacher, so we can't cycle. Another thing this is doing is preventing them from cycling their Bauble, right? If they crack their Bauble to draw a card to make more forward direction, then we will be able to crack our Bauble, and then we'll be able to start citadeling with ease. Okay, I'm going to play something. Maybe they do have the second Hull Breacher that I thought about before. It looks like maybe they do. Or is this a dig? Yeah, they're taking a while. I think this is, oh, it's a PO. Interesting. I think I'm just going to counter this. I'm not particularly keen on them drawing 3, resetting their static prison. There aren't going to be many better targets for that one. And that means their prison goes away. And they are on PO, I suppose, which is something that I had guessed. Okay. So we're getting a bit tight now. We're getting down to 12, so that's, well, there's 5 attacks, including this one, 4 attacks afterwards. Ring will buy us 1 turn of attacks on their part. They have now got 5 mana for perhaps that Forcible I thought they might have in hand, but maybe the card they had in hand was this PO. Okay, that's a probe. So this will get countered. For 1 mana, I can just cycle off the top of my 1 life. I can just cycle off the top of my deck. I think that's better than drawing it, just because if I draw it, then it's not going to do an awful lot. And there's a Tinker on top of my library. That's a fun card. I don't know what that gets, because obviously previously it would have gotten me a Citadel. I'm just going to play this out, hopefully to save some life. The Tinker isn't the worst draw because it's a shuffle with Citadel as one. So if I don't like the top card, I can Tinker and get rid of it. And if it resolves, then yeah, maybe it will find something useful. So our opponent is not attacking, as is sensible. And for turn, we are drawing Tinker, and we found a Boseiju. So that might unlock our Citadel. We will be at 8 if we wait. Right, and we're going to give them, yeah, that's fine. So if we wait to unlock Citadel, we'll be at 8. That might be worth it, and that might be enough. It's hard to say. 8 is not a lot of life. Any Aphetto Alchemist plus the Lava Spell Boots plus Tinker is lethal with Vault Key, I will say. So maybe that is better than anything. Yeah, okay. That's probably our plan. 8 is quite low though, but I suppose if they play another Hull Breacher here, then we'll be at less. But it is a plan to unlock our Bolas Citadel uncounterably. I assume they're going to attack us. There's no reason for them not to. Well, no good reason. Okay, right, so let's draw that. Soul Ring. Okay, well, that's not the worst start. So let's try getting rid of this. So if they do this, they're tapped out of their Force of Will for the brief period that we have our Vexing Bauble in play. Okay, so I will fail to cycle this to turn on my Citadel, give them a treasure, let they have Force of Will back, and okay. Off we go. Land drop. Not another land drop. Nadu. Okay, that is what we're looking for, that sort of thing. Now we are now at 3, so if they just force Nadu, we're likely just dead. But there's a chance that they couldn't, and they didn't. And maybe they have a plan now, but if they do, then we get to flip 2 cards with Nadu. And ooh, okay. Okay. That's interesting. Let's play that. So now we're at 1 with 4 mana and a Time Vault. I'm inclined to just tinker and see, right? Because yeah, if I spend a mana, then yeah. Oh wait, is my key? That was previous game, right? The key's still in the deck. Yeah. Okay, the ring isn't doing anything. I wonder if I should tinker away anything other than ring. Yeah. They really should counter this, and they should have a lot of ways to counter this. Any piece of countermeasures effectively gets rid of this. So, Fluster Storm, Spell Pierce, Force of Negation. Oh, that resolved. Okay. Well, is that it? It seems like our opponent is dead. As long as we don't kill ourselves with our Citadel or this fetch land. I do not want to apply this replacement effect. And I'd like to untap this artifact and draw a card. And for good measure, I'll equip here. And again. And 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not quite enough. But let's show you how the deck works, because that's what we're here for. This is why these cards are here. So why not just show you? So this is 5 damage. Ooh, actually, I shouldn't have done this. I should have, but it doesn't matter at all. I should have got. No, that doesn't work. I've already got my Aphetto Alchemist triggers. Thinking too hard here. No, and this is the lethal turn. I think our opponent's conceded. Excellent. On to round 2. Hello, and welcome to round 3? Round 2. Round 2. Yeah, match 2, it says at the top. This is a hand on the draw. My opponent has not revealed a companion. This is a very slow hand with not a lot. So there's no fast mana. There's nothing really to support the Academy. The top is whatever. In that sense, there's no combo with quick reflexes, and there's no combo with Nadu. I think I'm actually going to mulligan this. To this hand, so this has 3 payoffs, 1 combo piece, 1 cantrip, a Mox, and a land. I think this is more enticing. The key works nicely with the ring, but we're a little way off casting the ring. This is kind of awkward as to what to put back. We still don't have any disruption either, so our opponent is free to do what they will, and that's why I mulliganed the previous hand. There was no disruption and it was slow, so our opponent would just get to do what they want for 2 or 3 turns. Whereas this hand has the potential to play a 3-drop on turn 2, turn 1 if we're lucky. I think I'm going to put back one of the 2 drops just because the ring works so well with Key, and I'm going to put back Oko, I suspect. This just has a higher ceiling on where the hand can go. Oko is fine and is essentially a removal spell or a way to turn off a hate piece, and a way to turn off our own Crypt Vault ring if we're dying, and gain its life. So it does a lot of things, but it does a lot of things kind of fine. It doesn't do anything amazingly well. I wonder what our opponent, Claymore Toby, is going to do. Claymore Toby. I wonder if they have a Claymore. Morning coffee. Feels like our opponent might need some morning coffee, though they have more time on the clock than I do, so I don't know what I can say. Okay, our opponent does not have a shortage of fast mana. Sapphire, Soul Ring, Mana Vault. Is this Jewel? We're going to play a ring. We're going to play an Academy and a Covered Jewel, or a Khan, or a Vault Key, or something. It does smell like Jewel, especially with the shot now. A ring. Okay. This is a very strong opener for our opponent, and yeah, part of why we mulligan trying to look for something faster is that, yeah, faster roll with a piece of disruption, because this will just very quickly end the game versus us. We don't really have any recourse currently, so yeah. So I'm playing out my land, my Mox, and my Key on turn 1, and I'll probably just fetch Hedge Maze. I could cast Brainstorm, just maybe I should have done that main phase. That was a consideration, but there's a chance that, I don't know, I'm looking for something that I will want in their turn. This looks like a Jewel, which I probably will have to force. Oh, it's a PO. I still have to force that, don't I? I think I'm probably just dead. There is not a lot I can do, and there are not many decks that would beat this without a turn 1 force. Yes. Okay, I'm not going to concede, but yeah, I don't think we can win this game. Our opponent has seen 15 cards by turn 2. That's quite a lot above the rate that they're supposed to. What has Toby got for us this turn? So I assume we're going to see the ring again. Most likely. We're tapping Mana Vault first. Have we got another PO? Yeah, another PO. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is one of the reasons why I think Jewel is just miserable, is that the play patterns are, I'm going to try and resolve something, and if it resolves, then the game likely ends, but it ends after many, many game actions have taken place. And if the thing doesn't resolve, then they just try and do it again next turn until they don't have anything, which is not fun for either person, really. Nadu has some of the column A where, okay, they have a crit, but they're at 19. Yeah, okay. Some of the column A where you have hands which just take a lot of game actions and don't really necessarily win. But at least column B is interesting where I have to sequence. I don't know. It's much less about just let's put the best thing on the stack each turn, or the second best thing, then the best thing to bait their thing. They assemble Volky. They have Crypto Ring, but yeah, there's a reason not to play out Key, I suppose, if I think they're on Jewel, but I don't think it would have made much difference. So I'm boarding in my 5 counter spells for the matchup. And I'm going to cut Oko, and I'm going to cut the reflexes, and I'm going to cut the boots, and I'm going to cut. Basically, I'm looking to cut things that are not just disruption. I could keep the tutor in there. Disruption isn't brilliant, and this can just pull games out of nowhere. So maybe that's a bad idea to keep the tutor in. I like Bauble on the play. Generally. I actually usually cut these two, don't I? That's what I do. Yeah. Mostly because this counters what all of Ancestral and Manifold Key and Soul Ring, so 4 cards in their deck, which is not quite enough. I suspect I'm missing something there, but those are the cards that come to mind that I would want to be missing. They're probably playing a Brainstorm. I have not looked at this in a while. And honestly, I think the reason I don't like Probe is that I like knowing what's in my opening hand versus Jewel. It's important to have a lot of disruption or a really strong proactive opener, and Probe hides that information from you when you're mulliganing, which is potentially the most important decision in the game versus Jewel. And is often the most important decision in the game in Vintage. So, yeah. Right. This hand's pretty bad. There's no acceleration, there's no blue card for our force. We have our Citadel in hand, which we can only cast with a Lotus or a Jet with multiple things to untap it. So, yeah, easy mulligan this time. Okay, this hand is significantly better in that we have Force, Blue card, Land, Soul Ring, and a payoff for this if we find 1 mana. So these 5 cards are excellent. We have a lot of redundancy in Soul Ring. The second one is okay in case they happen to force our Soul Ring, which seems unlikely given that they'd rather force through their own threats. Sorry, not force Soul Ring, force our 1 ring. But yeah, the third one is obviously the card that will go on the bottom. Our opponent is deciding whether or not to mulligan. We will be keeping this and putting ring on the bottom. No, they had not joined the game. They've only just joined the game. Late to the party. Staying hydrated after drinking some electrolytes, as prescribed by my doctor. Very fun. They are keeping 7, I believe, again. Yes? Yes, that seems bad for me. Jewel keeping 7 in 2 games is likely heralding the end of the match in their favor, but perhaps I'm wrong. Okay, Ancient Tomb, Mox Ruby, and Trinisphere. Well, I think this is almost certainly worse for us than them, right? Despite us having a ring to play, we wouldn't be able to cast our force, so this is basically just a silence for the rest of the game. That's interesting. Let's play this one then, and let's play a ring. That was a good draw. I mean, I think a land might have been better, but we are where we are. Okay. Well, we have a plan in play. They are very likely to be able to overpower our plan this turn. Okay, that doesn't do it though. They're 1 turn behind us in this ring game. They did draw another Mox off the ring there, and they drew a Vol. They have a Vault. Okay, well, they drew one of these things. Okay, well, they seem to have a million mana. Interesting that they led on 3-ball whilst having 3 mana artifacts behind. That's quite the gambit, because if the 3-ball resolves, that's weird play. Maybe I'm missing something, but I guess they drew 2 extra cards, but they must have had at least one of these things. Maybe they only had the Vault and they drew Lotus Jet, and they knew they had 2 Ancient Tombs and a Mox, something like that. Anyway, we're going to draw cards after taking damage. That's not ideal, given we have drawn no blue card or Force of Will. I'm tempted just to not play this ring as well. I guess I'm going to play the top out and spin and look for a Consign or a Steel Sabotage. We have a fetch land. There is a Steel Sabotage. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the Steel Sabotage on top. I'm going to strip mine. Yeah, I don't think restricting their mana does anything, but killing the Urza Saga if they play it at some point is a viable path to victory. So I don't think I'm going to strip mine them because they currently have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 mana. So this doesn't really do anything, even if they have 5 cards in hand, which they will next turn. But having this in play, if they try and take a turn with the Saga, make a construct, that sort of thing, is fine. And then we'll be able to fetch next turn. Yeah. I don't feel comfortable currently. And this matchup is quite awkward. I did think having 4 consigned sabotage effects might be quite high, but they are for this matchup. This is a jewel, or this is the Might Stone and the Weak Stone. This smells like it could just be bait. I'm going to let this happen. You can draw 2. You've already drawn a lot. And this is like a baby jewel. 1 mana cheaper, makes 1 less mana. Okay. Well, this is interesting because we're going to get to... So they must have drawn Disruption or lots of land, both of which are much better for us than them drawing a load of threats. So that is fine. I can't take them off blue because they have 3 permanents that make blue. Yeah, so I'm not going to untap our Mana Vault because I can't afford to do that. So this turn, it is likely that I will draw, fetch away the Citadel on top of our deck, and draw 3 cards with the 1 ring, and then go from there. Hopefully we can find a way to assemble some sort of combo through whatever they have drawn. But we're waiting on them currently. So they currently have 3, 6. They currently have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This can't be cast non-artifact spells. So that doesn't work to cast counter magic. 3, 6, 9. So they can cast a Force of Will and a Force of Negation if that's what they have, or a Sink into Stupor and a Force of Will, or double Sink, or whatever, that sort of thing. That's maybe what will be bad. It seems almost 100% that they have one of these, and not unlikely that they have 2. Right, so we're going to fetch away the Citadel, and off to the races. Okay, we drew a lot of mana. So I'm going to play this Pearl out because it's functionally colorless. So I can spin and see if there's something I'd rather play than this ring. I think that's fine. And there are things I would rather play than the ring. In fact, I'd rather cast this Time Walk. The thing is that, well, I could do both. I could draw the Force and the Time Walk. Ooh, okay. This is maybe a bit funky. Okay, so if I draw the Force and the Time Walk, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. I can cast the ring and the Time Walk with Force backup if the ring resolves. If the ring doesn't resolve, then I'll want to flip into Tinker. Which is the 7th. And I'll have 6. Yes, I see. Oh no, I can make the ring resolve, right? And that's better. Is that working? Is that going to work? No, because if I stack Tinker, Walk, Force, play ring, flip top into Force, then I ring top, draw into top. So that doesn't work. So I'm going to play ring with Tinker on top, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. If that ring gets forced, then I will flip top into Tinker and Tinker into Citadel and try and win off the top. If ring does resolve, then I have 7 mana and I can spin my top again after drawing the Force of Will and flip into Time Walk. So let's stack like this, and I'll play out the Sapphire because why not? I suppose this means that they can trap my ring, but let's see what they do. Okay, that resolved. Interesting. So now I can spin top and do this. And then I can draw this card, the Force of Will, and then I can flip top and draw Time Walk, and then I can Time Walk. This would be something they'd be inclined to fight over, I think. Yeah. And they have a sink, which I'm going to try and push past. Now they can't cast Force with mana. They have to pitch. So they either need a Pierce or a Force with a pitch blue card. They don't have double blue for Sink. We've got something. Is this a PO? No non-artifact spells. What's going on? Autowala. Okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that. Just attacks on my mana this turn. I'm still not going to untap my ring. And I know I have Tinker on top, actually. So let's draw Tinker. 1, 2. Do I want Strip Mine open? Probably yes, I think. No. Oh, this is hard. I think I want to say no, because I might reveal 1 mana counters from the top of my library that I want to draw and then cast. Let's play the top out. Ideally, we find Tolarian Academy, and then I don't have to play any of these special lands, but we'll see. Okay, that's the consign. That's the sort of thing I was talking about. Magic Online interface is now being suspicious. Okay, so now we can start putting lands into play. So I have to remember that I do have a ring, which means I can't go below a certain amount of life. Right, let's hold priority and cast Brainstorm. Do I want Lorien? I don't really want to draw Lorien, so let's fetch away Lorien. And let's get a Hedge Maze. And there's a Mystical Tutor. Okay. What does that do for me? A Time Walk and Tinker are both gone, so I don't know if that does anything for me just yet. So let's see what I find. There is an Ancestral below these. Is there a way of Vault Keying currently? I don't think so, which is really the direction I want the game to go in. I could, I guess. So let's put back these two. And I think I will now play this out. I should have done something different here, I think, but no matter. So let's shuffle and Hedge Maze, and I'll leave that on top, and I'll cast this. Okay, that gives me a Force to pair with this Mystical Tutor. So I have Force and Consign available if I want it. Let's just spin top to see if we find anything else. There's a key. Oh, but I have a ring, so I actually can't go below 2. Interesting. Yeah, I already talked about this, didn't I? So, because of that, I guess I shouldn't leave this here either. I'm going to play out the consign. What am I interested in mysticaling for? I guess I could mystical for. Let's see. Yeah, there's not really anything amazing here. I think I left Veil in, right? So I could mystical for Veil, if that's relevant, but I don't think it is. So yeah, I only have 1 piece of disruption this turn up, so I should have left up Strip Mine, I think, is where we are. And I think because of that, I should play out this Bauble, just because they might draw a Force, or they might draw a bunch of Moxen that they want to play, or a PO. But yeah, this is awkward. They are at 7, and they have 2 Ancient Tombs as part of their mana, so they're not out of it just yet. And I guess Bauble protects against PO to some degree, and Consign protects against the jewel ring stuff. This looks like a jewel. 6 mana. We'll just try and counter it. Yep. Let's try and counter your jewel. the crown jewel, as it were. I do need to find another ring. Is this a sink? Okay, yeah, so that's a reason to not play at the ball, but here we are. I do need to find a ring to get rid of this ring during my next turn, if I get one. What's this? A jewel. Okay, so they're starting to just win, I think. I think it's quite likely that they do win. Okay, yeah. But it's not a given yet. They do. Okay. Yeah. There's the vault. There's the key. Okay. But no, this is different to game one because they have only got 5 life and they have a ring on 3. And they have 2 ancient tombs as 2 of their mana sources, which I suspect they're not interested in using this turn. So I won't concede just yet, but I think it's very likely that we cannot win. But we'll see. Well, they also have a tapped mana vault, right? Yeah, so they will be taking 3 off this ring, which turns off their 2 ancient tombs. And not that they're choked on mana, but it's potentially relevant. And they go to PO. Very nice. If they PO just for 2, interesting. So now they don't take the damage off the vault. I mean, they should have just drawn cards then, I think. Maybe they don't know how that works. I guess they do 3. Okay, fine. But now they have nothing dealing them damage, so I cannot win. Good games, opponent. All right, on to round 3. Okay, round 3. We're playing against Alcachaz _01, who is a player that comes to the events in London, Chaz, who made the top 8 earlier this month as well. So, yeah, it'll be great to play against them. They were playing Grixis Breach in that event, and we've opened a pretty good hand. I don't have a force, but otherwise I'm pretty happy to have Ancestral with Veil mental misstep protection. I think that's a brilliant, a plenty good enough start. Notably, Chaz's mulligan to 6, and they're going to probe us. And I think I am going to mental misstep them back. I don't want them to see that we, 1, don't have force. 2, they will see our misstep and potentially be able to bait us with something else. And 3, they'll see our plan. So, yeah. So I will lead on an emerald, which I suspect they will let through. And I will play an island. And I think I'm just going to try Ancestraling now. This does open me up to a force of negation, but okay. This is where we are, and everything has gone to plan. Force of will, baited by Veil of Summer play. Maybe a bit of lag here. So, we now have our own protection against their combo. It looks like they could well be playing Breach still. They didn't reveal Lurrus. The other deck that they played quite a lot recently was Esper Lurrus, I believe. Okay, so we've drawn into our combo of Alchemist Nadu. I'm tempted to just Beseiju the Saga so they don't get to get a Lotus off of it, and play out. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4 mana, play out Alchemist top. I can't do that, but I can play out Boseiju. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll do it in their upkeep so they don't have colored mana in my turn as well. So let's fetch a Tropical Island. Let's play. Ooh, actually, no, this doesn't work, does it? Because I have to have. So I have to do it in my turn, and I think that's better than not doing it still. They could well, I guess, have Hull Breacher here, but we have a negation available if that is what they are doing, if that's what they suddenly got, and okay, they're going to cast Vamp. Okay, that's fine. So probably for Tinker, they only have one card behind, so hopefully this means we just get to blow them out, but we'll see. Yeah. Okay. Goodbye. So the reason I led on Alchemist instead of Nadu is one, Alchemist has summoning sickness, so if you want the two in play, you generally want to lead on Alchemist. I have a top for Alchemist to slowly start drawing cards with as well. Whereas Nadu by itself without a combo piece is just a 3/4, which isn't really all that good. Grixis Breach. So I played against this twice in the event earlier this month, and I was bringing in a cage and a negation. I don't think I was bringing in anything else. I did not bring in the ley lines, generally because they have so many orthogonal plans that, and most of them don't care about ley line, that and it seems bad to have it in my deck when I can't really cast it. Now I have to try to remember what I did otherwise. So I bring in 2 cards and I cut 2 cards. I think this matchup I do cut the Mystical Tutor. They have a lot more disruption than things like Duel. They have Blast and that sort of thing. And 1 quick reflexes is fine. You need to be able to kill Hull Breacher in some situations, and it's good at that. So at this point, I'm starting to look at. So Oko again is another answer to Hull Breacher. These cards are, oh, I actually think I was cutting Brainstorm in the event, which is not, I don't know, not necessarily intuitive, but I think, yeah, I think I still like that. It's a card that plays into Hull Breacher that is the worst one to get caught on by far. You already have a lot of draw spells in your deck. This could, I mean, I know why this is potentially very wrong, but this is what I was doing. I was pretty happy with everything else. The other card I might be looking at is Lava Spur Boot, but it does enable a lot of combo. So in our deck with Alchemist and Nadu, which is really the main plan versus this deck. You don't want to get Hull Breachered, and you want to draw enough cards through their Hull Breacher to disrupt them. This hand is fine. You could argue it's a mulligan, but I have fast mana and both combo pieces that I want in my opening hand. Now I've got to back up Nadu. So next turn I can actually play Alchemist Time Walk off of Mana Vault and then Nadu. So that sounds good. I think I'm going to fetch out a Tropical Island and just play out the Mana Vault and aim to follow that line. Do they have a Surveil Land or a Vamp or a Mystical? A Mystical, so it's Ancestral or Tinker or I guess Brain Freeze or Time Twister. There's actually quite a few options. Okay, Ancestral. That's probably okay. Yeah, maybe they wait, but yeah. Obviously, we can't do anything about this. So it's interesting to think about what they might have, whether or not they wait. Yeah, so them doing it now indicates they probably do have some sort of protection behind, because this getting exiled in Breach is not the worst, but it's not brilliant. Okay, no, I don't want to pay for this ability. I'm still going to just go ahead, even though they likely do have Pyroblast. Okay, well that's a very good draw. I'm going to keep my Polluted Delta in hand and lead on Time Walk to play around, I don't know, Pierce or Flusterstorm, and then I'm going to play my Alchemist out. So they're already somewhat incentivized to fight over this somewhere because it gives me 3 mana a turn, right? So this is just something that fights Manivore. And they've now tapped out of their Blast effect, which is, maybe they don't have it, maybe they do have the Fluster or the Pierce that I referred to with the timing of the Time Walk cast. And this kind of indicates that they would force Aphetto Alchemist, right? They're not going to have any other interaction available, and there are some worlds where, depending on what they see, they would like to force Aphetto Alchemist, which is surprising. I don't know if it's worth that at this point. Right, you can generally force the other thing it's good with. I know it's 3 mana, but yeah. Okay, well we have a lot of Nadu now. And I'm going to take 1 off my Manivore, as is good and correct. So let's go ahead and play out the Nadu. Chaz is asking me, is this my own brew? I don't know if I would say this is my own brew. I've mostly been talking to Kinda, Patrick, a fellow person who lives in the UK, about shells with Aphetto Alchemist. But this is, I guess, an adjustment of what I have seen in that this isn't the black deck, as I've discussed in the introduction. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's my own brew, but it's my own take on this style of deck. This was the first build of this that had ring in it, to my knowledge. I've not seen anyone else playing rings. Just go back to him whilst he makes his decisions. They have Tinker, which I don't want to resolve, and I hope they don't have another force. They did spend a force last turn, and they saw that I had a negation, so that's quite an interesting line from them. Oh, I was distracted there by talking to them. I should have drawn more cards, but so it goes. I should have drawn more cards. Such is life. Let's do that now, though. Embarrassing to make mistakes. Okay, hitting Tolarian Academy is good. Hitting the Force is good. I'm tempted just to cast Lorien here. And yeah, I'll attack with Nadu. So I'm going. Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm going to remember to draw more cards this turn. I don't think it matters an awful lot because of the playing the Tinker into my force. They're behind on resources so much that I don't need an extra 3 cards. But yeah, okay, they've vamped for their Lotus. So if they have Breach plus Disruption, can they get there? I don't know. I mean, either way, I'm supposed to fight over this, but let's do this now before I forget to in the future. Okay, well now if I hit another blue card in the top 2, then I don't think I can lose. Yeah, okay. Let's untap that. So this is what I should have done in their previous turn that I forgot to because I'm just yeah, not playing particularly well. But Okay. Chaz is reacting quite a lot. And they do have something, I assume. But of course, yeah, so if they can fight over this, then they will uh, be able to. I mean, I doubt they're going to be able to protect it twice. Say it does resolve, then they'd get to play Lotus Ancestral, or I guess if they have enough, I'm not sure if they do, they can Lotus and then tutor for Freeze and Flip Top. But I don't think they can beat this other force. I've got the GGs in the chat. Oh, very good. Okay, that was round 3. See you in round 4. Hello and welcome to round 4. Unfortunately, this round is a recording of a replay, at least for game 1 and some of game 2. I lost the recording file partway through. I'm still learning about this, but game 2 is mostly still live narrated. So I'm just going to quickly cover game 1. So this is versus Tarzan of the Jungle, and they are on a Lurrus deck. And our hand versus a fair Lurrus deck is not the best, but it's acceptable, right? I have access to basics. I have the combo of Shuko plus Nadu, and I have the potential to assemble them on turn 2 via a time walk. They Gataxian probe me, and I choose to lead on time walk over Alchemist that I drew to still have the potential to have Nadu on turn 2, as if they had the Wasteland, which they did, then the turn 2 Alchemist essentially doesn't make mana, and I end up with a 1/2 with a Shuko on it. Whereas if they have the removal spell plus Wasteland and I time walk into a land, then I can Nadu combo. If I time walk into not a land or another mana source, then I can just play out the Alchemist and I'm in the same spot. So it's a higher upside to lead on time walk. It does play into Spell Pierce, which they could easily have had because they knew to hold up Spell Pierce because they had a Gataxian probe. So maybe I should have thought about that more. But that was my reasoning. So we end up here. They do have the Wasteland and the Spell Pierce, which is how the Gataxian probe works. They get to make 100% optimal plays for the first few turns of the game. We now get to play 2 cards that they didn't know about, Alchemist and Saga. However, I top deck there very conveniently, and Alchemist gets plowed. So they actually had both. They had the removal spell and the Pierce and they had the Wasteland. So there wasn't any way either of my turn 2 plays would have worked out. Here I'm going to be able to play this Alchemist again that I top decked. Nice top decking, and Alchemist next turn will be able to make mana if it survives to be able to cast one of my threats in my hand off of an artifact from Urza Saga. Aphetto Alchemist doing the impression of a mana dork. Here we are, we're doing that. I chose to get Emerald because I'm assuming the first thing gets forced. I'd like to make use of the floating mana off Saga to cast the ring, and then next turn I'll be able to cast a Nadu off of Aphetto untapping Mox, Emerald, and yeah, Island. So as suspected, my ring gets forced, and my opponent notably also missed their land drop that turn. They must have drawn Wasteland, or maybe they were floating it, but whatever, and they cruise, floating it, holding it in hand, which is okay. We have plenty of threats, and they'll need to force so another 2 for 1 to stop this happening. I cast Nadu, and they force Nadu. So again, they went up 2 cards with cruise, but they went down 2 cards with both their forces. And now they pass with 3 mana open. I believe, yes, I draw Crypt here, and I want to use all my mana again, so I decide to just jam another ring into their Force of Negation mana, which I was aware of, their 3 mana they were leaving open, which is fine because I'm hoping to be able to find a threat off of my Alchemist plus Sensei's Divining Top eventually, and just getting through their counter magic is something I will have to do eventually. Notably, Alchemist plus Quick Reflexes is still online because Alchemist can untap Emerald. Emerald is very strong in this deck, and is part of the reason why I fetched it off Saga. Again, they're not doing anything, so their hand must have more disruption in it, or an Orcish Bowmaster, something like that. And I play out the Divining Top and leave Nadu and Force on top, and then I lead and then I play the Mana Vault. I don't draw an extra card with Aphetto Alchemist at this point because I'm worried that they have an Orcish Bowmaster, and I don't want to be forced into quick reflexing when they play it. I'd like to maybe nab more than that because otherwise I can just ignore the Orc, right? I can just take 2. So they play the Orc, and then I draw cards now. So I put the Nadu into my hand, and I still have protection up for my Alchemist if they do something with it, or if they play another creature, I can kill more than one of their creatures. This turn, they board themselves, and they play a Demonic Tutor, and I think they get Ancestral. Yep. Which is, fine. They've drawn a lot of cards this game. We're going to take 2, which is whatever. I don't care about that. I'd rather have the protection up still. They draw a card off their bauble, and they go up to 6. I lose the flip on Mana Crypt this time. And here I lead on Divining Top, and I play out Nadu. So here I led on top so that I could spin off Mana Vault and look for a blue card to protect Nadu if they had a counter magic. Because here I think this is crunch time. This is my threat. I have backup and protection from removal. They don't force it. I try and equip Shuko, and I think they have the Plow here. They do, which gets me 2 triggers. Again, I spin top off the strip mine that they give me off the Swords to Plowshares Nadu trigger, and I see an Oko, a Mox Ruby, and a Boseiju. I then activate Aphetto Alchemist targeting itself to flip Oko into my hand, and I force the Swords to Plowshares. Because eventually I know that I will want an answer to their creatures in the Quick Reflexes plus Alchemist. Then I start Nadu comboing, and I have another 3 cards to draw in their turn without triggering Bowmaster, and I have protection for Alchemist, and I have an answer to any creatures that they may play. Here they attack with Orc. I say, well, do you have double Bowmaster? If you do, it's a huge blowout on my part anyway, because I get to kill all your creatures and Nadu still doesn't die, and I get 2 Nadu triggers. So that is what they had. This was a really interesting game, actually. I'm really annoyed that the file got corrupted. So yeah, Nadu takes 2 damage, the Orc grows to a 3/3, then I choose to tap top, untap top again, then untap Aphetto Alchemist with Legolas's Quick Reflexes, which untaps the Alchemist, then I kill all their creatures, and then I draw 2 with my top, without triggering Bowmaster, which is very clean, and I think they just concede, basically, when they realize what's happening. Because I am going to Wrath of God them and draw another 6 cards through this turn or something in total. Yep. And we're on to game 2. That is the end of the game. We got the concession. Okay, back for game 2 of that round against Tarzan of the Jungle on Esper Lurrus. We have quite a slow hand, but again, I didn't think they'd be pressuring me particularly hard with their combo, and we have 2 combos that are very effective against them, and we have mana, which is the thing I'm most worried about. They once again lead on Gataxian Probe and have perfect information in the first few turns of the game. And they have a Mox and a Time Walk, and I believe they also have Demonic Tutor into Ancestral Recall. So an extremely strong opener on their part in that they know exactly what I'm doing, and they are up a bunch of cards and mana. So before I take a turn, they have 3 mana and have drawn 3 extra cards. And I don't have anything to do. My plan is just to fetch Hedge Maze. So usually versus Esper Lurrus, I'm not particularly worried about broken starts and not too worried about having counter magic. But if you draw 3 pieces of power, or functionally 3 pieces of power, yeah, that comes up. Here we were back and forth, and I was hoping that they would basically have drawn into a bunch of interaction which would let me develop my mana, or I actually said specifically Stack Disruption. They did draw the Wasteland, at least 1 Wasteland, which means I have to play out the Strip Mine, and I can't play out my Alchemist, which I really want to play out with Reflex Protection. Playing out the Strip Mine means if they want to Wasteland me, they really do have to Wasteland the Strip Mine or the Fetch Land, and in both cases I get to get a +1 card out of them because I can Strip Mine them back, or I trade 2 Wasteland effects for 1 Fetch Land. But it seems like they have drawn a lot of Stack Disruption, and but this Wasteland has made it a bit awkward. I then draw Mox Jet, might be able to resolve the ring. It seems unlikely that I will be able to resolve the ring. However, I will have 4 mana, which means I'll be able to spend all my mana this turn. So there's an upside of playing the ring there. Downside of playing the ring there is Alchemist reflexes into Nadu is quite strong, but I won't be able to play Nadu next turn anyway, at the moment, as it stands, unless I draw a mana source. So let's, I think, just play ring and see what happens. I suspect what will happen is that my ring will be countered and I will get wastelanded, but I want to be able to spend my mana whilst they're not pressuring me. I need to get through their counter magic somehow. Okay, that seemed very unlikely to me to work, but let's go ahead. Likely they will play an orc then. Okay, they're wastelanding me here. So before I can draw my gush, clearly. They have an orc? They have a dig. Why did they not dig in response to the ring? Why are you digging now? I guess maybe they have an orc and I don't know. You always should just do this first. That seems very strange to me. Okay. You get to play your orc now? No. Weird. No orc, no force. Maybe they do just have a bunch of sword splashes. Are you going to play anything this turn? Maybe they're waiting until they can deal me damage before playing their orc. Okay, now they have Null Rod. Okay, that's good. That's good. Certainly a powerful effect. And yeah, I'm just on cast Alchemist and pass. Nothing to be done. So this is the Null Rod that. Yeah, okay. They have a daze. That's fine. Hopefully they just continue not doing anything, which is not really how Dig Through Time works. Dig Through Time gets things, not nothing. Okay. Their game plan is certainly coming to fruition much better than ours. After their Mox Time Walk Ancestral Opener. Okay, well, I will continue playing as I drew a double tap land, basically, but let's see if we can make use of our Hedge Maze. We definitely don't want Mana Crypt, given that Null Rod is in play. Okay, more mana. They want their 5th mana for some reason. They're going to cast Lorien Revealed. Or is this a cruise and they only want to spend 4 mana on it instead of 5? I guess they can't spend 5 unless they have 5 mana. Yeah, so. Cruise or Lorien? Probably Cruise because they've got this paying costs thing going on. Oh, no, Lorien. Okay, sure. Are they already Cruise? No. Interesting. All right, well, we're going to take 1. And I'd like to play out my Alchemist with an additional mana available to cast Reflexes. So let's hopefully draw a land. No. Okay, well, we are doing what we can. I'm not going to not do anything. Black Lotus doesn't do anything. So this is probably what they had, which meant that this could resolve. Yep, that's your third wasteland. Okay, 2 more to go. Probably won't need to though, because yeah, that's a frog. Okay, so if we draw a green mana here, we can kill the frog. And we did. We did draw a green mana. Okay. That's pretty useful here. And maybe they'll play an orc. And okay. I think maybe I'll fetch now. Let's see what they do. Okay. I didn't want to respond there. And that's fine. We can keep going then. So ideally now they would try and play my Alchemist because it's a 1/2 and or maybe they'll attack with everyone, which they are going to, and I'm going to try and block their Bowmaster. And maybe we'll get to do the same thing again where they play an Orcish Bowmaster to kill my Alchemist. Yep, okay. Well, this is a bit of a blowout. It's probably not enough to win the game for me, but it certainly shows that this is just super powerful versus this deck. I lost to Esper Lurrus in the final of the London event, and I didn't draw any of my Legolas's Quick Reflexes, despite having many Alchemists in play for many turns, which would have just blown out a board of creatures and the Lurrus. But such is magic. So we're still quite far behind here. Our opponent has really constricted our mana. They've turned off our ring, and they have a lot more mana than us, and they have the same number of cards in hand as us. So that means, yeah, we're just behind quite a lot, but we're not dead, right? And they can't play any more creatures this turn because the Alchemist will just kill anything they play for the rest of the turn, which is nice for us. So there we are. That was pretty good. Trading 2 mana for 1 mana on this turn cycle and killing 3 creatures, one of which is a Psychic Frog. Not bad. And we still have our Alchemist. And they're paying costs. So this is the cruise. Yeah, they're just going to keep burying us. I think that in many positions that combo will end the game, but the mana disruption has been brutal. Right? There's still 2 more Wastelands left in the deck. And I suspect that even if we do draw colored mana to resolve one of these Nadus, yeah, we're just not looking too hot on that front. And I can't use the Alchemist as mana because of the Null Rod, so. Here we are. Orc. Sure. Do they have Time Twister? Is that why they're doing this now? Can we concede? No, that's a Lurrus, right. Okay. No concession just yet. You can play Adam, that's fine. I can lose another life to my Horn Ring. Ooh, that's a good draw. That's a really good draw. Okay, we're not dead. That might have been the best draw in the deck. I was already thinking about that. Because they can't counter this. And they concede. Wow. I feel like that was premature, that concession, to be honest. But amazing. On to the next round. Yeah. Wild. Round 5. We're playing against Abaddon, the Despoiler, leader of the Black Legion, inheritor of Horus's primacy. And wow, okay, we have certainly got plenty of mana this time. So this is a turn 1 Alchemist, turn 2 Nadu if our opponent doesn't destroy our land. And I think that is certainly good enough to keep. There is some argument here to hiding the Academy and using the Vault to cast a morphed Alchemist, which I am somewhat tempted by. Our opponent, however, did not reveal Lurrus, and so that tends to indicate that they're less likely to be a Wasteland deck, and so I will just lead on Alchemist this way. I could also play out 2 Alchemists. Maybe that's good. Yeah, because then they can untap the Vault if one resolves. Let's do that. 1 Alchemist. Oh. Reading Alchemist, probably. Not thinking about forcing it. 2 Alchemists, Jeremy. What about second Aphetto Alchemist? Our opponent is probably deciding that they do not care. They did start with 7 in hand, which makes it slightly less likely they are on Bazaar, but not necessarily. No, okay. So they're on Mana Crypt. That's a good card. I've heard of that one. Oh, they have the nice power as well. A dedicated Magic Online Vintage Grinder. This is intimidating. You have... Oh, wow. Okay. You have a better Academy hand, likely, than I do. That's terrifying. Time Vault. Okay. I'm not going to untap that for you, in case you were wondering. Okay, so they have 6 mana available during my turn. That's quite a lot. I am somewhat keen to strip mine their Academy. And hopefully they don't have a second blue card if they have a force. Yep. Okay, I'm going to move to my second main phase. Because doing that indicates that they probably do have a force, otherwise they would have spent the mana. Let's play out our payoff to a force. They do have the force and the blue card. They have a sink. They are playing likely Jewel. Okay, that is somewhat intimidating because we now do not have our payoff and they're going to attack with 4 mana. I guess them not having the Academy is nice. And Jewel is, as we saw earlier, quite tough to navigate here, especially when they have all the mana in the world, though they do not seem to have a payoff yet. So let's untap our Vault and move to our turn. No. Lorien revealed. Okay, that's a good one. Let's just go ahead and play it. Certainly much better than a fetch land here. Okay, that's good also. I can't get more blue mana this turn. So I think it best just to Ancestral here. Oh. Okay, well that's the end of the game. Good game, my friend. Yep, cool. Lorien, definitely a good draw there. No complaints about that not being a fetch land. All right, well, I'm pretty sure they are on duel. I'm going to do the same thing as last time. So cut my consigns and add my consigns and my steel sabotage as my fon. Cut my Phyrexian meta spells, my Legolas quick reflexes, and my Oko. And I think I cut the boots previously. I am on the draw. Bauble is less good on the draw. Boots could be more relevant on the draw. Let's try that. Boots does let you come out from behind in certain positions and helps you when you're top decking and have traded a bunch of resources, and you can start triggering Nadu or untapping rings with alchemists that would otherwise be giving them a turn. So this hand is excellent. It has a force of will and a turn one with the one ring. So yeah, this is what we're about. This is why we're here. Our opponent's mulling into 5. Feeling happy with the situation with our good hand of broken vintage cards. Academy in 2 games, twice in 2 games is good. And then Disruption. So, yeah. Ancient Tomb and Soul Ring to start from our opponent. Well, that's a good start. 3 mana spent on something like Trinisphere would be a great play for them this turn. Or a Mox and a Ring, or a Lotus and a Jewel, but they have nothing. We will be jamming our copy of the One Ring. I think I'm supposed to play it off Academy, right? If I play Vault, Academy taps for 2. No, I don't think it matters, does it? I guess it might give me. I guess I can play the boots, and then I'll have more mana. Yeah, I just end up with 1 mana extra, I suppose, in case I draw something I want to play this turn. Well, I do want to play that this turn cycle, I suspect, but cannot just yet play it. Still. If our opponent plays something like Mishra's Workshop, that's quite a good lead for them. They'll and jump up to, I guess any soul land jumps them up to 6, so Ancient Tomb. And then they can start playing things like Jewel. So if they have Shock, Jewel, Force, blue cards, something like that, that's really strong for them. They're playing a Soporific Springs, which is not indicative of that. A key, that's fine. And a ring? Is that what this is? Or a Tinker? A Tinker, yeah. I don't think we can do that. And I'm going to pitch this Lorien. I will draw enough cards off this ring over the game that I don't need the Lorien to be an extra card advantage. I can just hopefully draw more disruption, and this consign protects from a lot of their threats, which I like. Here I am happy to have the boots, right? Because now if I draw something like a Alchemist, I can start drawing a lot of cards where the Bauble would have turned off my Force of Will and doesn't really impact my game plan later. Okay, I'm going to take 1, and then I'm going to draw 2, and I'm somewhat tempted to just pass after playing a land here. I guess I could always brainstorm and draw Alchemist and untap, but I think I'm happy waiting given I have the disruption from a lot of their threats. Tinker is gone, so they need a PO, which they don't have the resources for, or a Phyrexian Metamorph to copy my ring. Ooh, is that what they've got? They do. Okay, that's fine. So they're going to have my ring. That is a big punish for my consign. I don't think it's worth brainstorming to a forceful. I think I'm happy to just try and overpower them still. Notably, I do not have Oko in my deck, so I cannot turn off their ring now. But that's acceptable. So they've drawn a land, so they're going to untap their ring and they're going to draw more cards. So maybe this is going badly for me. Maybe I should have tried to go for it last turn with the brainstorm. But we will see. We will see. There's a good chance that I will just push through whatever they're going to do. Them having the key with the ring and the metamorph is nice to get around the consign. Maybe I should have thought, but I'm not sure. Okay, that's interesting. I'll play out a saga. I will cast Time Walk and untap again. No. Let's take 3. Let's draw a card. Let's take 1. So they currently have, I believe, ring protection. Is that how this works? Turn to the 1 ring. Correct. Yeah, they put the trigger a bit to the side, so they get the 1 ring trigger. I could have counted the trigger, actually. That would have been an interesting play that I did not consider. Here, yeah, let's play out Shuko, and then let's make a lot of mana. And let's do this, and let's equip here, and let's untap this ring, and let's draw 5 cards. Are they conceding? This feels like maybe they are conceding. Yeah. Lovely. 4 wins and 1 loss. That was Nadu Tinker. I'm sorry about the recording issues in round 4. Hopefully it's not too unpleasant. I wish we had my live reactions still, but yeah. Thank you for watching. I hopefully will be posting more content here. I'm not decided if it's just going to be vintage or if it will be vintage and legacy. But constructed Magic, for the most part, I would expect. I would appreciate any feedback, both on gameplay and recording. Yeah, thank you for watching.